Hi, I'm Molly Durnin, and you are watching Sunfire Films TV.
Today, I have someone that is special, super special. Like I always say, there's those people that are a little bit better than others, a little bit more top tier than everybody else. I definitely have someone like that today. I was looking back at my archives, old pictures, old videos, and I realized that we've known each other for over 7, 8 years now. You know, she's definitely one of my favorites. And I think sometimes she doesn't know how great she really is. You know, she's one of those people in the city that I admire. I always, when I have time, I like to go check and see. You know, like I said, I've known her for a while now, so we're going to definitely go down memory lane. We're going to talk about what's been going on lately, and we're going to talk about the future. I got a musician with me. Her name is Molly Durnin. What's going on, man?
Thanks for having me.
I know, right? It was tough getting through this moment, but here we are, man. So, like I said, I've known you for a while. We're going to go back in time, man. So, you from what, upstate New York?
Upstate New York.
Upstate New York, man. And that's always something that's interesting to me because you don't hear about a lot of people from upstate. You always hear about the people from the city. Mm-hmm. So, talk about the upstate and talk about how it is different from, like, the city life.
Oh, my gosh. Upstate New York is a completely different state, in my opinion. They should be separate. Mm-hmm. I mean, the city is so small in comparison to the entire state. I mean, New York has the biggest state park in the entire country.
Okay.
It has 6.1 billion acres of state land in it. It's so beautiful. It's so vast and just country.
Yeah.
I grew up in a tiny town, 5,000 people, farm people. Like, you don't get any hint of the city.
Right.
It's very rural. I mean, it's a lot of just simple, I don't want to say simple, simple life though. I mean, it's country life.
Yeah, so how far is that, like, say if you were to go to, like, drive to the Bronx, like how far?
It's like 3.5 hours, 4
3.5 hours. So it's actually not that bad.
No, but I mean, that distance, it's just a totally different world.
Yeah.
Totally different world.
Yeah. So what was life like growing up as a kid in
Oh, it was great.
Upstate New York?
My parents have this beautiful little plot of land butt up against the Grafton State Park, which is butt up against, what's the other park? Pittstown State Park. Mm-hmm. So that's about 4,000 acres of just state land.
Yeah.
And as my playground in my backyard, so.
Yeah. So what were some of the things that you were doing as a kid?
Oh my gosh, riding my mountain bike everywhere. Mm-hmm. Just playing in the woods, playing with your neighbors. It was, before the internet, so we were just all doing kid stuff.
Yeah. It's weird because, like, when I think about New York, I think completely different than, like, where we are in South Carolina, but it sounds similar.
Yeah.
It sounds
you just add the miserable winter.
Yeah.
It's about the same.
It sounds like the South. Like, like it doesn't sound like when you think of New York. It sounds like, because you had all that land, and you had trees, and you had, farm animals.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the South.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have brothers and sisters?
I do. That's how I got down here. My sister, she married her high school sweetheart, and he signed up for the Air Force right out of college, and he got stationed down here, so they moved down. My brother graduated, he moved down, and I'm like, hey, don't leave me up here. Okay. I came down, and it was an easy transition, I mean.
Yeah. So, like, growing up as a kid, like, what was your first dream? What was your first love? Was it music, or was it something else?
Oh, my gosh, music. I always tell people music chose me.
Yeah.
Like, I had no intentions of being a musician. I struggled with figuring out what I wanted to do with my life.
Right.
I went to college, because that's what you do. I did 2 years.
Was that
in
down
independent
here?
Up in New York.
New York.
I went to a community college. I did 2 years of independent studies. I changed my degree over 5 times in a 7-year period. I took 3 years off. Mm-hmm. Ended up becoming an EMT, working for the ambulance company in Albany, New York. Oh yeah. And then I finally went back and I decided to do civil engineering. Mm-hmm. And I got my civil engineering technology degree.
Right.
And it was in that period of time that I had decided like, I'm a songwriter, I'm writing music, and everybody had convinced me you got to put an album out.
Mm-hmm.
And I somehow decided to record my album in the same week as finals week, because, you know, when other time should you do it?
I know, right?
And
Should
then
be
I just
studying.
I never used my degree, not once.
A lot of people don't.
You know, it's crazy, but without that journey through college, I don't know if I would have become a musician.
Yeah. So you were already like playing music and singing before then?
I started learning how to play the guitar out of boredom in my dorm in 2007
Mm-hmm.
up at Paul Smith College, which is way dug into the Adirondack Mountains.
Right.
And there's not a lot to do up there in the winter. So you're just stuck in your dorm. It's like, you know, 0 degrees outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I think I'm going to learn how to play the guitar.
Okay.
And it just took off from there.
Yeah, so like you went to college, graduated, never used your degree. So like when did it come into play that you were going to be like, okay, I'm going to try to get gigs. I'm going to try to do these things.
So I had gotten just a couple gigs that last year of college.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I graduated, I said, you know, I really love this. I think I'm going to give myself like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to follow my passion. I'll give myself 3 years. And then, you know, wherever I am, I'll get a job and I'll go back to this. And after 3 years, I said, all right, let's make it 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at, what, 12 or 13 now?
Yeah. Okay. So when did it get to the point that, so you were doing gigs in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So why, like they say, I mean, I know you left because of your sister, but like they say, like if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So why didn't you drive those 3 hours to go to the city?
I did.
Yeah.
I did the whole, I would drive all over the place. I would drive to Western New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont. I did little mini tours all over the place, and I made it out of the city a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's tough. It's a rat race, like they say. I mean, I always compared, you know, riding on the subway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're just riding on this tunnel of broken dreams. Like people are crying, it's such a struggle that I knew I'd have a better chance not being there.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel like it was too much for you? So
I mean, it was tough to commute, like with a guitar and PA equipment. It's tough to drive into the city and
Yeah.
with the traffic and the parking, and it's expensive to do that. So my
Yeah.
overhead wasn't really making any sense because I was playing shows for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up deciding to go south, and
Mm-hmm. And then you came down here.
I came down here and I picked it up, and I've just been doing the same thing in every town I go to.
Yeah. Do you remember like those first gigs when you moved down to South Carolina? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what was like some of those first
My
gigs?
first gig was at Coastal Coffee Roasters in Somerville.
Okay.
And Brad was the owner. He's still the owner. He gave me my first gig there, and it was really cool because they're very supportive of original art.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really awesome crowd there, which, I mean, this was 10 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
Charleston, I think you would agree, was very different 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
definitely.
And it gave me, I don't want to say a false sense of what was to come,
Mm-hmm.
but a little bit, because there isn't as much original support here as I thought,
Yeah.
judging by Brad's wonderful venue.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's certainly enough work.
Yeah.
There's enough work to go around for everybody.
Was there a point when you realized that you're like, I'm doing this, but I'm actually good at it? Like, do you remember when that happened?
That's a tough question, because in my opinion, any artist will have their good days where they've got that confidence. And they're like, yeah, I am good. And then it takes like one show where you're like off, that you're just like, I'm an idiot. I'm not good at this at all. I should just give it all up and go back to work.
Right.
Because, I mean, you can be a good artist, but like you'll never be the best. Even the best will never be the best. Because
Right.
there's always room for improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do believe that I'm a good artist.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I have a million things that I could do to become a better artist.
Like I said, like when I was just talking at the beginning, I don't think you realize like how great you really are. Like I really think that, like just for knowing you for a while now, I don't think you realize that sometimes.
Maybe that's a good thing.
I don't know. But you said like, what do you do original music also? Like, what do you think the scene for that down here is, or even does it exist?
It's tough. It's small. It's certainly small. It's out there, and the problem is that I am an original artist. I'm a songwriter, but I'm also a cover artist. And when you say working musician, that's generally referring to a cover artist. And there's tons and tons and tons of work for cover artists down here. And that pays. That pays the bills. You know, that they have the budget for it because it's bringing the tourists in.
Yeah.
Original art doesn't do that. And the tourists aren't here looking for artists that they can follow around because they're going to go back to Kentucky or Ohio or wherever they're coming from.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just wish there was a bigger community with more support where you didn't have to play for free.
Yeah. Does that discourage you to do original music?
It discourages me to take original shows because if I want to play a Friday night original show, I essentially have to look at it as in, well, I have to turn down a working show. So I'm going to lose money by playing that show, which, you know, a lot of people would come back at you and say, well, your art isn't about money. And I'm like, well, have you seen the economy these days?
Right, you gotta pay them bills, man.
I gotta pay my bills.
You gotta pay your bills.
And I'm already an artist supporting myself. So it's a really fine line you have to walk.
Yeah.
And it's discouraging because you want to play your music. You want to play the stuff that you've written from your heart and you want to share it with everybody. But you also want to pay your electric bill.
Yeah, I mean that's for what I do too. Like, you know, it might not be the coolest thing in the world. Like, if somebody says they want me to film a corporate event, but they're gonna pay me X amount of dollars, like the family gotta eat, so it's like I gotta do it. And it might be cooler for me to sit down and say I want to create a movie from scratch or do something like that. But I mean, I guess there has to be some kind of balance. So like, are you balancing them both right now, or are you just trying to do what you gotta do?
I'm not balancing it. No. I'm not balancing it.
No.
No. And it's heartbreaking is what it is, because I do love to play music. It is my favorite thing to do, but you know, I could go the rest of my life without playing some of the shows that I play. Some of these cover shows I could literally never play for the rest of my life.
Right.
But that's the reality of it. That's when you decide to be a full-time musician, you relinquish that choice.
Yeah.
You know, people will say, well, why don't you just get a 9-to-5 job? And then you can play your shows, you can play original shows, you're not dependent on the money anymore, so now you can follow your passion. And I'm like, man, it's because the money's too good. I could work a 9-to-5 job, and I'm going to make a fraction of what I'm making now.
Yeah.
So I pigeonholed myself a little bit with what the income I'm used to having, and it's definitely at the cost of my original music.
Yeah, like I've said it before, and like I say it with love, that like a lot of musicians, especially in Charleston, they get comfortable. Like they get comfortable because they're doing what they love to do, and they're getting paid to do it. And then there are venues where you get free food, you get free drinks, and you know, depending on who you are, you might have some local groupies and things of that nature. So people get comfortable in the fact of like, I love what I do. I really want to get more into what I started doing this for, but I have these gigs. I'm gonna get paid. I'm kind of like, I'm okay. Like, I don't want to take the chance to maybe not make the money that I'm making because I got to pay my bills. Yeah. But how do you get out of that, though? Like, I was asking somebody about that recently. Like, do you want to be and I don't say this to be, like, in a way that's, like, disrespectful, but, like, do you want to be that musician that plays bars till you're, like, 50, 60 years old, and people want to hear Sweet Caroline, and they're just sitting back there drinking, and they really don't care who's singing Sweet Caroline? You're just there. Like, do you want to... background music. Like, how does the transition happen, or does it happen?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question. I think everybody wants to know that answer. And it's a more complicated answer, I think, these days than it used to be. Because, 25 years ago, before the internet, I don't know if I'm dating that correctly. I'm getting older and older every day, and it's getting further and further when the internet came out.
Yeah.
But, my mother was a musician, and back when she used to play shows, she still got prints of her posters that she would print out. And you could hit the streets, and you could promote yourself face to face, plaster the streets with posters. I mean, simple advertising. With the internet, my opinion is that people are so super saturated with musicians.
Yeah.
Because, everybody and their brother is sitting in their bathroom recording themselves, playing a song they just wrote. And if you don't do that, you're not even on the radar.
Right.
And I've always joked that I'm not narcissistic enough to just record my face every day and just hold it 2 inches from my face and, lip sync to a song I've already recorded. But it's so hard. It's just so hard to figure out how to get people's attention.
Yeah.
And I even forgot what the question was.
I said, like, how do you make that transition? Like, is it possible?
Like you said, you get so comfortable playing your shows. You get comfortable getting those checks for these cover shows. And then you start to wonder, what am I really going to do? What am I really going to do to get the attention for my original music? And what's it really going to cost me?
Yeah. Like, I feel like years ago, like how you were saying before the internet became what it is now, people would do shows and open mics, and there was even a good chance if you were good enough or great enough, you could get a record deal from that alone.
Record deals don't even exist anymore.
They don't really exist anymore.
You don't have an agent or a scout coming out to an open mic or a venue at all looking for new artists, because they're just sitting on a computer, in my opinion, going through. I mean, I've gotten emails from record labels asking me, like, oh, would you like to be a part of this? These days, there's no deals, so you have to front, $50,000 or more for your own album, and if it fails, you're out that money. Like, there's no deal anymore outside of their connections and their promotion. I mean, it's tough because the artist can't even make money anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to get me going now off streaming and stuff. I mean, you can put out music and your return is like 0.00067 cents on a stream.
Yeah.
Whereas when I put my first album out, you'd have to pay me $1 to hear my song.
Right.
So it's like, we're just getting screwed left and right. And the appreciation for music isn't there.
No.
The younger generation, I don't think, appreciates it, indie music, like they used to. I mean, I don't want to blanket statement anybody, but it's certainly declined.
Right. So I know bills have to be paid, and it's super expensive to do all of these things where you promote yourself and you put out your albums and you, I guess, travel and do all these things. Like, is that something you see, or is that something that you're like, I'm just gonna stay where I am?
I mean, years ago, I did a lot of touring. I did a lot of traveling, and I did it all by myself, just me and my car and my dogs. And there's a lot of overhead. There's a lot of costs that people don't think about. Just gas alone, hotel rooms, and then what venues are willing to pay you as somebody that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
And it's tough to put that all together. And really, artists, they need a booking agent, like a promoter. But I find myself often in like the Bermuda Triangle of booking, is what I call it, because they're willing to book you, but you have to give them a guarantee of how many people can show up.
Yeah.
But if I've never played in that town before, no one's going to show up because they don't know who I am. So it's like this weird chicken and egg situation. And I think there's a lot of artists in this country that are stuck in that position.
Yeah.
And nobody really knows how to get out of it without having like an investor who's going to back you.
Yeah.
Because, how much money can you really save playing your cover shows?
Yeah.
It goes back to, I
Right.
can hear people screaming at me on the internet, well, get a real job.
Yeah. Have you ever, I mean, I don't really hear you talk about it too often, but do you do like the corporate gigs or the private events and the Christmas parties and the weddings? Like,
Yeah,
you do those too?
I do it all.
And that's better money, right?
It is.
Yeah. Are those hard to get?
I wouldn't say that they're hard to get. I think that there's just not that many of them. I mean, there's multiple companies here in Charleston that do weddings, and they
Right.
have, that's pretty much, they've got the market nailed down, and they do very, very good job with providing extremely good musicians for all these kinds of events. And every now and then I'll pick one up too that isn't for like a full band. I think being a solo artist kind of also pigeonholes me. But again, financially, I find that it's more economical for me to be a solo artist. Emotionally, I'd love to have a band. I would have much more fun.
Right.
When you have energies of other people to try to get you through the night and keep the energy up. And, playing with a band is just such a blast, but it's a lot more work.
What's going on, guys? Sun 5 Films here. If you live in Charleston or the surrounding areas and you need a videographer, please let me know. Whether it's a wedding, corporate event, live performance, I do a little bit of everything. So once again, please let me know. Now let's get back to the interview. You're watching Sun 5 Films TV. So how is the Charleston scene in your opinion? Like, what do you think about, I guess, like getting gigs and the bookings and I guess the musicians that are down here? Like, what do you think about the Charleston scene?
Charleston music scene is nonstop. And especially when the on-season comes into play with the tourism, I mean, it is ridiculous. There's a couple booking agencies around, and they book a lot of the same people who do the same thing I do, solo artists, and they're great. They've got all kinds of contracts with all kinds of venues, so they just throw, shows into my lap, and other venues just in the on season, everybody's just looking for music nonstop. So it's so easy to get a full schedule of music, and I love that. That's one thing off of my to-do list. Like,
Right. So is that what you usually do? You go through usually someone getting you, how much of that is you hustling to get the gigs and how much is that of
I'd say 50-50.
Yeah.
I get at least 50% of my work through booking agents.
Yeah.
And then, I don't even want to say hustle because really venues will reach out to me.
Okay.
It's great. Obviously word of mouth in this town works, and there's just a million musicians here, and they're all such top tier musicians in my opinion. Like, there's really not too many people in town that I'd say oh, don't go see them. They're
Right.
not that great. Like, everybody's awesome.
Right.
And has a pretty positive view of their job and what they're doing, and feels, at least my perception is that they feel grateful to be here and be able to, living their dream of being a full-time musician.
Yeah. Is it different or harder being a female?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Such a controversial.
Talk about that.
Such a controversial question. Yes, I think it is. And other people will say no, that it's easier because, preferential treatment. I've had people tell me that I get tipped more just because I'm a female. And I'm like, I've often said that, no, I'm getting tipped because I have to deal with bullshit you'd never even imagine. In the middle of a show, people saying, take your bra off, or take your shirt off, or just the chauvinistic men that you would expect at a bar at 1 o'clock in the morning. The sexual harassment, the lack of respect.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've heard stories.
You can imagine. What you imagine is happening.
Yeah.
What you imagine is actually happening.
Yeah.
And it makes it harder, but I don't sit here and say that guys don't deal with the same thing or deal with another version of, BS that they have to deal with. I think everybody has their pros and cons, but in my personal experience, yes, it's harder.
Yeah. Okay, so for a young girl or even a boy who say they went to a show and they saw you playing and they say, I want to be like her. What are some of those tips that you would give to to that kid who wants to be a singer or a musician, or like, what are some of those tips that you would even say that this is how you get started?
That's a big question because, some people might say, don't go to college because if you're going to really believe in a dream, you got to be all in and not have a backup plan. Mm-hmm. I've heard famous people say that. But my opinion is get an education or a trade skill. Mm-hmm. Do something that you'll always have in case you need it. That's what I did. And come coronavirus, come the first time I was unemployed in a very long time, I thought about it. I was like, man, I'm glad I have that degree in case I need to fall back on it. I think that's a smart, responsible decision. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the music, you just start playing, you don't stop.
Yeah.
That's it.
So if somebody said, I'm in my bedroom and I'm playing my guitar and I feel like I'm good enough to at least get noticed. What would you say, what's the first thing that they should do?
You start at open mics. You go to as many as you can.
There's still open mics around?
I think so.
Do they still do that?
Am I dating myself?
Maybe. I'm older than you, so
Am I supposed to say start a TikTok account?
I don't know what you're supposed to say. I'm not a musician. I'm asking you.
I'd say, that's what I did. I started open mics.
Yeah.
And then you meet other musicians and they give you feedback and that's your first step into the community. And once you're part of the music community, it just kind of figures itself out.
How do you get booked?
Word of mouth is a good way.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, you contact bars, you message them, you call them, you go there, you ask who books their music. You could go even as far as being like, oh, you want a little preview show? I could come by on a Monday and play some songs for you. Mm-hmm. Little audition situation. The biggest obstacle, I think, for booking yourself is the equipment.
Having your own,
having your own equipment and lugging it around and knowing how to use it.
Yeah. So, we were talking earlier about, for the most part, this is a cover band, cover musician type city.
Yeah.
We have the people who, they don't necessarily care about the music. They want to go out, they want to drink, and you're kind of just there. What would be considered a person that's not good and somebody that is good when it comes to booking? Because I've been to a lot of places and a lot of people aren't very good, but they're still getting gigs. So what would turn somebody down to be like, I don't want you to play because you're not good enough?
Well, that's really definitely venue dependent because unfortunately the booking generally can fall on just somebody who works there, mm-hmm. somebody who might not have a music background, somebody who might not even have asked for the job.
Right.
It's just like, oh, well, you're the manager here, so you need to take care of this schedule. Mm-hmm. So they're not even maybe one there half of the time all of these musicians are playing. Two, they just might not have the knowledge to know what to look for and what not to look for. So I can't place blame necessarily on all of the bookers. Mm-hmm. But generally, I think what they'll go by is just like, are you punctual? Mm-hmm. Are you taking 35-minute breaks? Mm-hmm. Are you, getting hammered at your shows? Are you being professional?
Yeah. Does that work on if they feel like you're better, that you might get paid more, or is it just flat across the board where you're the talent for the night and this is our budget and this is what you're going to get paid?
They usually want to do this is our budget. And then if you've been in the industry long enough, you know that you can do a little bit of haggling. Yeah. Actually, this is what I need. Mm-hmm. What do you think you can do in your budget? Oh, can we take off, the food and booze tab and just put it as cash because I'm not going to use it?
Yeah.
But, and that's also venue dependent. There's just a ton of variables when it comes to booking.
Yeah. I've heard stories about I don't want to say names or places, but I heard it's not fair sometimes. What they want the bar scene, the club scene, what the musicians are getting paid, and.
Well, yeah. I even asked my mom. I said, "Hey, you were gigging back in the 80s, mm-hmm. 70s, and the 80s. Mm-hmm. What'd you get paid for a 3-hour show?"
Yeah.
And she said, $150.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, that's good money.
Right.
With inflation these days, $150, which I know there are venues in this town that are just paying $150.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard that.
I push it as far as I can.
Yeah, I heard from people saying that the pay hasn't changed. I mean, it depends on the venue or whatever, but like they say like a lot of like what they were paying years ago, they still try to pay now.
Which doesn't really make sense to me because their prices have gone up. Inflation has happened to everybody in every sense of the means. Like, it just doesn't make sense because if you're charging more, I know that their overhead is, they have to go up because everything costs more. But why, it doesn't, you're making more.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand why the budget for music isn't there.
I think it's there. I think they just realize that a lot of people, this is maybe their step into the industry and they're going to take what they can get, or maybe they don't do original music, so this is probably their only thing that they may be able to do.
Yeah.
I think they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, any musician that knows me, I've told them, like, this is what I'm charging, you should too.
Right.
Let's band together.
Yeah, you gotta have
Let's band together.
Unified front. Yeah, but you've definitely been doing this for a while, so tell me some of the, well, we're going to talk about both of them, but tell me about like some of those moments that stand out, those high moments, those great moments, the highlight reels. Talk about some of those moments that stick out.
I think probably the best night of my life was my CD release party. I did it out as part of a CD release tour, and I had hired probably the best band in the Quad Cities out in Iowa. And I had a ticketed show, and it was so packed, and it was all original show with a full band, and it was unreal. Like, just the energy in that room, the support I had from these people, and these songs that I had never showed anybody. And I would just put it all out there. And that's really, I think, number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the...
I've been chasing that high ever since.
Man, you gotta do more original songs, man. What are those low moments, those rough moments, those moments that a lot of people might not even know about, those struggles?
Oh my God. There's so many. There's so many. I can't even count them. Oh, just, I mean, I'm an overworker. I know that. People tell me all the time, you play too many shows. You're oversaturating yourself in this market. And I'm like, there's one thing I know how to do, and it's work. And I do. I will work until I physically can't. And it's just, say I've played my third show of the day or second show of the day on a long week, and my fingers are just aching. I mean, they're just raw. They're being ripped apart by the strings. And I'm singing with my soul because it's the only way I know how to sing. And, you belt something out, and you stop, and you look around. Not a single clap. Not a single acknowledgement that you're even there. It's such a normal occurrence at this point.
Yeah.
And you'd think you would get used to it, but you don't. It stings every time, and it like kind of wears away at you, and you don't want to get bitter because you're like, no, I'm still doing what I love. This is still very cool, and this is still very, like, it's a blessing to be able to be doing this. But I don't know, man, it just still, every time, it's a bizarre disconnection between what I'm doing and what people are experiencing.
Yeah. I hear those stories a lot.
Yeah. It is common.
So, like I said, I've known you. I was looking back at old pictures and videos and stuff like that, and we filmed stuff together before. And like, I remember like we probably met when you were doing City Market, like the nighttime, and then you were also playing at Smoke Barbecue.
Oh man, they're not even around anymore.
Exactly. That's how long it's been, man. I was looking at back and
I had long hair.
Right.
I've shaved my head and it's grown back.
Right. So, like, how has life changed from then till now?
Oh my gosh, life has changed so much. I mean, I moved away and I moved back.
Yeah, I was sad.
But, I moved away and I ran back, I should say.
Right.
I ran back. And life has changed, and life always changes. I think I've grown as a musician. I still have my same guitar.
Wow.
I
Okay.
haven't stopped playing it. I just, like anybody else, I've just grown a little bit wiser, a little bit smarter. You just keep learning, and you try not to let the man get you down, you know?
Yeah.
You try to look at the positives and not just dwell on the negatives, because, man, we've had some negatives in the last few years,
Yeah, definitely.
especially the arts community. But, you know, I'm trying to sing our comeback song. I'm trying to, like...
So you see the progress, though. Like, you see yourself getting better. Like, you...
I don't know about better as a original artist. I've been in the longest writer's block of my life. I can't really put my finger on why.
Yeah, because I remember, what's the album with the fox on it?
Yeah.
So I remember that album. And
That
you've
came
done...
out in 2012.
Yeah. So talk about some of your original music, because, like you said, you're in a drought right now, and a lot of people may not get a chance to hear your original music. So, like, what does that even sound like for someone who's like, okay, well, I didn't know that about her?
My first album and my second album are wildly different albums. You know, the first one came out when I was still in college. I was graduating. I hadn't decided to dedicate my life to music yet. And the writing, it was of someone who's just writing songs, like real light, real fun. And then I had a 10-year gap before I put out my second album, and it felt incredible to get that album out, because it was supposed to come out. It was just this weight on my shoulders that finally I put it out, and I knew people weren't going to like it.
Why you say that?
And it's partly why it took so long to get out, because my writing is so different. It's so honest. It's so raw. You can hear 10 years of experience in that album. And it's tough to know that the majority of your fan base is in love with this version of yourself. And then you change, because you're a human being too, and your art is part of who you are. And you put this album out, and it was heavy, man. I mean, that is a heavy, heavy album, which is why I feel so light, because it's out of me now.
Right. Was it about, because I need the album. I definitely need the album. I'm going to get the album. But is it like a lot of storytelling? Is it like, what's so heavy about it?
It's so heavy. I mean, we got mental health. We have domestic abuse. We've got just heartbreak. We've got infidelity. I mean, it's chock full of topical issues. And it just wasn't the Molly that everybody knew and fell in love with. And that was hard to face as an artist, to be like, hey, I put this out. I'm sorry. Like, I almost felt like I needed to apologize, because it just wasn't what people expected.
Right.
And I made them wait a decade. So.
Are you happy with the project?
I'm ecstatic with that project.
Yeah.
I think it's some of the best writing I've ever done. And, you know, I had a local guy produce it, Zach Quillen. He did a phenomenal job. And it really is everything I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that's all that matters.
Right. So when I listen to your music, what would you describe that as? Because you're not country.
It's been 10 years. I still can't answer this
question. But you're
question.
not rock. So, but you have a twang. What is it?
I guess it's
Is that
just,
American? Is that Americana?
Yeah. It's just Molly Durnin. It's so hard to put me into a genre, like into a box, because the minute I do, then I go and I do something else that doesn't fit into that box.
Right. But you still have that, like, that...
It's like indie alternative, Americana, folk, kind of this... Yeah.
You sound like you're from the country. You have, like, a twang. You have, like, a... For people who don't really know music and the different genres and subgenres, they would probably say you're country.
Probably.
Ish. Because there's the rock in there, too.
I mean, nowadays, saying country doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. Yeah, I guess not, but...
Country's everything now.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm country.
What would you say, though? Like, if you had to
I
tell
always just say
somebody.
indie. Because that's pretty generic as well.
Yeah.
Because I am. I'm an independent artist who has an identity crisis.
What's going on, guys? Some 5 Films here. If you made it this far into the interview, thank you. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Now let's get back to the interview. You're watching Some 5 Films TV. For as long as I've known you, you really like go with the flow. So I'm interested to even say what you're gonna say to this next question. But like, what are some of your goals? Like, what's some of those things that you look at that you want to accomplish?
Well, I used to have more goals than I do now.
Right.
Like, I always said I wanted to play at Red Rocks. But the way that the music industry has been going these days, it makes me feel like no matter how hard you try, you could never achieve that kind of success.
Right.
Without having like your face glued to your Instagram or something, and having an extra $50,000 in the bank, you could just throw at a record label.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, everything seemed simpler when I first got into music.
Yeah. That
hard work would get you there, and now it just kind of seems like it's a game. It's just a silly game that you have to play.
Sounds sad, man. I hear a lot of people say that though, man. It's like the music industry, like people always say that they love music, but they hate the music industry.
And I'm sure, you know, I say now, the music industry's always been a game. Like, one way or the other, it always has been a game. It's a business, you know?
Yeah.
They're just out to make their money however they got to make it.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
Yep.
So, before this year's over, we need 3 goals out of you. Because you're not goal-oriented, but we're going to make you goal-oriented today. So I need a couple things from you.
I got to fix this writer's block. So I'm going to write a song this year.
Okay.
And
at least one.
At least one.
We need more, but I'll settle for one.
And with that brand new original song, I should do an original show.
Okay.
Here in Charleston. I've never done that since like the first time I moved here, which was like 10 years ago. And I don't know. Well, I've just been not focused on my own music. I've just been so disenchanted with it. And the only other thing I could think is my fans have been asking for new merch, so I got to come up with something.
Yeah, I need some new merch. I need a Molly Durnin hoodie or something.
Oh, with these temperatures lately.
Yeah, I know,
for
right?
Sure.
I could definitely use one of those. Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that.
All right.
New song. You're gonna do original show. We getting some Molly Durnin hoodies, some beanies, and all that. Okay.
You got it recorded.
I do.
You got it.
Everybody heard it. It's in the air now. It's in the atmosphere.
I got a whole year though. It's only January.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna give you that, even though that's a stretch.
Come December 31st, I'll be releasing new merch.
We're gonna get the stuff. Okay. It does work. I mean, that if it's before the new year.
Isn't this a leap year?
Yeah.
Oh,
Isn't it? Yeah. We got to see these things happen. I'm going to hold you to that.
All right. I need somebody to light a fire under my ass.
Right,
I've just been over here.
Right. So, when you're old and gray, sitting in that rocking chair, and you watching like...
The Price is Right.
The Price is Right. And you got like 1 million little dogs running around.
Definitely.
What do you want to see from your life? Like, what do you want to look back at? And what do you feel like your purpose is in life?
That's tough, man. If you're in your 30s and you know your purpose in life, I'm impressed. Because
I know I know my purpose.
For a really long time, I thought my purpose was music and to write and to help people through my music. And I have done that to an extent. This last album, despite the fact that it's not nearly as popular as my first album, it really touched people you'd never, ever expect. Specifically the single I came out with before I dropped the album, that song, It's Fine, that's so topical about mental health. Like, the responses I was getting from people that were like successful business owners who really seemed like they had their shit together, who you thought didn't have a care in the world. They were just, living their perfect life.
Right.
I was getting messages from them being like, you have no idea how much this song touched me. Like
We're all going through something.
So like I'm so grateful for that, knowing and having like the actual proof that I've helped people with my music. So there's that I really feel like I was put on the earth to try to heal people with my songs, and I gotta write some more because I did a good job with those. But when I look back on my life, I hope that I make it to be like an old grandmother and look back and be like, see, you thought about it, but you never did give up.
I like that. So what's one piece of advice that someone either taught you or you learned? Like, what's something that somebody else gave to you?
When I was in high school, I played soccer my whole life, since I was like 5.
Right.
I want to say it was like 13 years of playing soccer. We didn't have football, so that was like our whole thing. And I decided in high school to change from soccer, and I decided to run cross country. You just run. I mean, that's the whole sport, is you just run long distance every day.
Yeah.
And I had the best coach ever. And when I left high school, he left me with this piece of advice. He said, if you can push through, 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, if you can push through and you can fight with yourself, you can do anything. You can do anything in this whole world for the rest of your life. If you've got that discipline within yourself, you can do anything.
Do you believe that?
I did for a long time. I'm just old and lazy now.
Yeah, that's good advice though. I like that. Gotta have that positive mind, that determination.
If you got it in you, it's in there.
Yeah, I believe that. You need to believe that.
I need to get out of this winter is what we got to get out of the next 2 months.
Wow. Yeah, we don't even want to talk about that. All right. So what's one thing that a lot of people don't know about you? Or maybe they may think something about you that is a misconception.
I don't know, man. I think a lot of people think I went to school for music. That's usually a funny conversation I have with people. And they find it rather hilarious that I got an engineering degree.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Associates, my brother will correct everyone. Associate's degree, not a bachelor's. Definitely that I worked for many, many, many years on the ambulance. That I spent a good chunk of my life doing that. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I don't know.
Before we get out of here, man, definitely give your contacts, ways that people can get in contact with you and share your shows and all of that. So definitely do that. Give your contacts and everything. My contacts, it's all my name. I didn't get crazy with it. It's just mollydurnin.com, Molly Durnin on Instagram, Molly Durnin on Facebook. And you can find all of my shows on my website. Because she doesn't share them. I don't share them as much as I should. But there is always a live Google Calendar on my website that you can always find all my shows where I'll be at. Okay. I enjoyed this, man. Like, we've done this before. It's been a while. It has been a while. Like, I knew a lot of things, and there's definitely a lot of things that I didn't know. Like, you're one of my favorites. I tell you that all the time. Like, she doesn't realize how great she is. She's making me sad over here, and wait till you hear that album. Oh my God! But definitely one of my favorites. I've always said that, so I appreciate you spending some time with me. Absolutely. And my name is Sun5 Films. This is Molly Durnin, and you're watching Sun5 Films TV.
That's my daddy.